so 2 out of the 6 Arakni Agents of Chaos have been revealed. We have Arakni Black Widow coming in at number 1, and then we have Arakni Tarantula as number 5. So the remaining 4 should be spoiled, in drips and drabs here and there, all in time for the sealed primer, because they are going to be quite impactful to draft play when it comes to playing Chaos Arakni. But more importantly, what this means is we now have a proper understanding of how the mechanic is going to work. So, ruling-wise, when you become an Agent of Chaos or return to the Brood, which means revert back to the original Arakni, effects that apply to your hero persist, especially say the mark condition, and your life total remains the same. So this means that any persistent effects, so for instance any changes to your intellect, say, 10 foot tall and bulletproof, is still going to impact your hero. So you can't use that as a nice finisher to your turn and then revert back to the OG Arakni. And then you also have cards like, say, Infiltrate, right, with a ongoing effect that will also remain because you are still the same hero. It's basically just your hero ability that you're swapping in and out of. Now, the Agents of Chaos don't count for your card pool / inventory, right? So you do have to take all 6 in order to play the mechanic. You can't pick and choose, which your favorites are. It's all or nothing. You randomly pick between all 6 every single time, but they won't count towards sideboarding, so you can still take all your proper deck techs without having to, have a -6, which is quite huge to your card pool for either Blitz or Classic Constructed. Now, they are token rarity, but not token type, but they will be found quite readily, because again, they are going to be very impactful when it comes to draft. So yeah, be prepared to find a bunch of these Agents of Chaos, right, in their normal version. Now, each Agent of Chaos has a numeral corresponding from 1 to 6. So again, Arakni Black Widow is number 1, and Arakni Tarantula is number 5. So the way the mechanic is intended to work is if you roll a dice to determine the Agent of Chaos, you'll become the respective agent based on that roll. Now, there's no hard ruling yet on whether or not that is the mechanic going to be used, right? But I assume, consensively as a community, right, dice is probably going to be the go, right? Rather than say, a blind shuffle of the 6 cards and then maybe your opponent pick out one. We'll have to wait and see, but most likely you're going to be rolling a dice and you're going to be transforming into the Agent of Chaos that corresponds to said number. Now again, the way the core mechanic works is you have to end your turn with your opponent marked to then, again, use this random mechanic to become one of the 6 different Agents of Chaos. Now, they have this clause at the beginning of your end phase, return to the Brood, which means to revert to the base Arakni. And what this means is that at the end of your turn, right, so at the beginning of your end phase, everything is going to go into the sack, right? You're going to revert back to the original Arakni, and it's not going to proc its ability. So at the cleanest you can get this, right, you're basically going OG Arakni, right, OG Chaos Arakni, I should say, and then one of the Agents of Chaos, back to normal Arakni, back to an Agent of Chaos. So every other turn you're going to be alternating between these hero abilities if you do end up setting up those marks. So a general play line that we might see, right, for Chaos Arakni is basically mark, stealth, something, mark, right, or, cut out the mark, cut out using Arakni's prime ability, and then just setting up with a mark to then go into one of these Agents of Chaos. Now, as for their abilities, we'll start off with Arakni Black Widow. So, it seems like this is going to be the consensus. They will all have once per turn attack reaction, discard an assassin card. Now, this is quite nice because it fills that niche of requiring attack reactions, right? So it seems as though Assassin is going to be a bit more focused on their actual attacks rather than taking a hefty amount of attack reactions to prime some of those more powerful cards that want you to play X amount of attack reactions. You have all your equipment on board, and now you'll have these different hero abilities to come in as a pinch, right? So it should sort of smooth over deck construction where you can take a bit more of a hefty attack setup to, again, try and make sure you have your stealth card, your contract card, your marking card, your mark payoff, etc., without throwing in attack reactions as well, right? At least not to the normal extent, because you should have those bases covered. So for Black Widow, we have target assassin gets +3. Now, that's quite nice, right? So again, that's sort of stock standard for spending 1 card when it comes to an attack reaction. And then it also has, if it has stealth, it gets, when this hits a hero, they banish a card from their hand. So a bit more stealth synergy, but a bit more open-ended and flexible than base Arakni. And I actually kind of like that wording a lot better. I kind of wish that base Arakni was attacks that target a marked hero, get +1, and then if the attack is stealth, it has that opportunity where if it hits, it gains go again. I think that would have been a lot better of a starting ability, right? So that as long as the opponent is marked, you're always going to be pressuring with that extra +1 until you actually land a hit and clear the mark. But nonetheless, Arachni Black Widow, right? It is a nice enough ability. Again, it's basically equivalent to using most standard attack reactions with some benefit, again, if you're playing a stealth card. One thing that I do sort of want to, question, how would you feel if it wasn't discard an assassin card? Because I almost feel that's a bit detrimental, right? Because you're going to be running through your deck, and generally speaking, there's not a lot of recycling when it comes to your main attacks and normal cards. So you do have to think a bit more strategically. But how would you feel if it instead, right, of discard an assassin card, it was put an assassin card to the bottom of your deck, right? I feel like that would have been a nice sort of balance, right, to the fact that this is going to be a very random mechanic, which Agent of Chaos you get, right? So the ability to then, sort of structure your deck a little bit better and also maintain X card while still getting an attack reaction would have been a little bit nicer. But nonetheless, it's a good start to the Agent of Chaos. Again, all it will take is one to ruin them all, right? To make the randomness too random. But then we also have Arakni Tarantula. So he has a passive. Whenever a dagger you own hits a hero, they lose 1 life, which is quite nice. So that means you can, pump up, say, Flick Knives. You can pump up some of the hurls. You can take maybe a bit more dagger tossing if that's going to be a bit more of a thing, which, it kind of seems like it's going to end up being Cindra's mechanic, but hopefully there's some generic or, crossover ninja assassin cards to support that as well, because I'd love to just be able to, finish off your opponent in that late game where you're just chucking your daggers at them and they're taking the extra chip damage. But along with the passive, he again has once per turn attack reaction, discard an assassin card, but this time target dagger attack gets +3. So I'm going to say 2 out of 6, right? I'm happy with them. They're not detrimental. The stealth is a bit more complicated, right? Because we don't know the extent of stealth cards. We're going to continue to see stealth/contract. We're going to see stealth/mark support. We'll have to wait and see. But I do like Tarantula a lot better because obviously it just synergizes with what's already on board, and we're most likely we're hoping to see, right, that the mark mechanic, or to some extent stealth, is tied to Arachni's weapons, and therefore having a ready to go whenever you want, a +3 to your dagger is just nice, right? Plus then you get the chip damage if the dagger hits, so, it's almost like a +4, right? In fact, no, it's better than that, right? Because the one would be unpreventable. So, yeah, I definitely like Tarantula a bit more than Black Widow, but Black Widow is by no means bad. But we still have 4 to go, so hopefully, right, they're sort of similar to this extent. It's kind of rough because, again, gauging off of these two, we're going to get one that supports contract, we're going to get one that supports marking, and generally speaking, that specificity is going to wreck the mechanic. Because if it ever comes down to you need X hand to synergize with X Agent of Chaos, then the ability becomes a lot worse, right? Because you can't control what Agent of Chaos you come into, and you can't control to the later game, right, what cards you're going to have in your hand when. But nonetheless, it's exciting, right? Again, I like him as a gimmick hero. I'm very intrigued by the mechanic. We just need to find that balance of randomness and actually decent payoff, and I do feel, all right, a good balancing there would have been, instead of discard, putting assassin card to the bottom of your deck. But, oh well, right, it's another on-call attack reaction along with all your equipment, right? So you can take, some of those bigger payoffs, and heck, we might end up in the Hunted getting more assassin payoff cards for playing attack reaction. So it's almost most likely going to be 1 card to mark, 1 card to stealth, 1 card is sort of your finisher, right? And then you've got your dagger swings, and then you have your attack reaction payoffs. But we'll leave it there. If you enjoyed, let me know your thoughts on Arakni and his Agents of Chaos. But more to go. See ya.